Hi, this is a series, The Twilight Zone, Episode 3. Our goal is 300,000 subscribers, and every single one of your subscriptions warms my heart because it means my efforts are not in vain. Nina Harrison is a successful lawyer who has built a thriving career and won many cases in court. She arrived at the roadside cafe with her son Dorian. He's moving to college and Nina is a bit worried about him. She takes out an old camcorder that she used to record her son's childhood and wants to capture another important moment in his life. During lunch, they talk about Nina's father. He was a strict man. Dorian says that Grandpa was proud of her. He found out about it from a Facebook message from his uncle. But Nina hasn't been in touch with her brother for a long time. She has a strained relationship with her family. At that moment, Officer Laska walks into the cafe. He orders a steak and immediately notices Nina and Dorian. Nina starts filming and records on camera how Dorian spills sauce on himself. He asks her to rewind the recording and re-record it so that moment isn't on the tape. Nina hits rewind, but instead of rewinding the tape, time begins to rewind. Nina doesn't understand what happened and thinks it's just a strong sense of déjà vu. After finishing lunch, they hit the road. On the road, Nina notices that her son has set the GPS not to college, but to his uncle's place, whom he hasn't seen since early childhood. Nina really doesn't like this. She doesn't want to see him. Dorian takes the camera and starts driving with one hand. Dorian, you're driving. Suddenly, a cop appears behind them, and Dorian has to stop the car. The officer asks why the guy was driving the car with some device in his hands and why he was speeding. Nina apologizes to the sheriff and asks them to let them go, but Officer Laska has no intention of being nice. He clearly didn't stop them for no reason. He has a hatred for people like Nina and Dorian. He asks if there's any weapon in the car and is about to search the vehicle. Cobbs notices the camera and demands that it be turned off. Nina rewinds time a few minutes back again. She asks her son to stop and says that something strange is happening to her. Dorian stops the car and gets out to help his mother. At that moment, a cop pulls up. Dorian explains that his mom is unwell and they need to go to the hospital, but the officer isn't planning to let them go. He says that their car is parked illegally. Dorian is getting angry and the cop reaches for his taser. Nina rewinds time again. This time, Nina rewinds time a bit further and finds herself back in the cafe. She sees the cop and tells her son that it's time to leave. She takes the wheel herself and turns onto another road, hoping he won't find them. Dorian doesn't understand what's happening to his mom. She asks him to just trust her and her son does. He tells his mom that he's always looked up to her and she is the strongest person for him. So he will trust her even when she acts crazy. Nina suggests to her son that they stop by a hotel and rest a bit before heading to college. They check into the room and watch a show on TV. Nina is sure that Lateria is unbeatable. But Dorian says that the universe was created in such a way, and that's why, maybe, everything is possible. Nina remembers the numbers that came up and rewinds time back. She says, wow, what if she guesses all the numbers? Dorian will visit her every week. He agrees to the deal and is very surprised when his mom calls out the right numbers. How did you know? Wait, how did you guess? How?
That's your mom.
But how? He goes out to get some food, but on his way out of the room he runs into Officer Laska. Good evening. He's about to check their IDs. Dorian gets fired up again and says he has no reason to check their IDs. The officers get angry and a fight breaks out. He breaks in and grabs the taser again. Nina rewinds time. She ends up in a cafe and decides to try a different scheme. She approaches the officer and decides to introduce herself in a friendly way.
Sorry, handshakes are prohibited when carrying a weapon.
Nina decides to treat the officer to an apple pie. He agrees and they have a nice chat. The sheriff doesn't seem racist at first glance, but only at first.
Have we met, ma'am? But I don't remember ever seeing you. I know all of you types.
During the conversation, Nina makes a good impression on the officer, and after eating the whole pie, he thanks her for the treat and leaves.
And thank you for the pie. You're welcome.
Nina thinks that this time everything will work out, but in the parking lot, the cop asks them to stop again. He asks her where she got such a car and requests to see all the documents for it. This time, Nina loses her temper and starts yelling at him, saying that he has no right to accuse her of anything. It's her car and she earned it. A-E-U. Dorian quickly finds his phone to show a photo of his documents, but the situation is extremely tense, and the cop, thinking Dorian is pulling out a weapon, shoots the guy. Nina arrives at the hospital, where she is asked to go identify her son's body. She just asks to be given the camera she had in the parking lot. Nina prays and asks the camera to rewind everything back to the beginning. Time rewinds again. Nina is happy to see her son alive and tells him that they need to leave right away. At the exit, they encounter an officer. Nina drives as far as she can and tells her son what's going on. She says that she might have gone crazy, but she needs to stop this. I don't know what this is, mind games or some kind of parallel universe. Although the son doesn't fully believe his mother, he decides that their only chance is to take the original route. To Uncle. They arrive there, and Nina's brother happily greets his nephew. Nina is a bit angry with him because she didn't even come to their father's funeral. Nina thanks him for letting them in and asks for his help. She tells her brother everything as it is, hoping that he won't think she's crazy.
I believe you.
He doesn't know how to explain it, but he comes up with a plan to get rid of the cop and make it to college. Uncle Bob, he knows all the streets in the area because he studies them to preserve the history of the infrastructure. He leads them through narrow alleys to a hideout and takes them through a tunnel to the college. But an officer pulls up there. The sheriff pulls out a gun and aims it at them. This college is special. It only admits black students. The sheriff harshly demands that the family come over to him, and a whole squad of cops arrives to back him up, all of them pulling out their guns. This time, Nina isn't going to hide and wants to put an end to this once and for all. She carefully takes out the camera and hits record. Other people standing behind her also pull out their phones and start recording. Nina says that they have rights too, and he has no right to chase them, to study them, to point a gun at them, and especially not to kill. The other cops got scared of the cameras and left.
Let's go, sweetie, let's move.
Nina approaches the sheriff and says that she understands why he's acting this way. In reality, he's more scared than they are. Sweetie is also leaving, left with nothing. 10 years pass. Dorian has a daughter, he studied to be a director, and they have a wonderful life. But Nina is still sitting there with her camera. She's afraid that sooner or later, Kobe will come back. Dorian says it's time to let it go and move on. The girl takes the camera to play with it and accidentally breaks it. Nina tries to pick up the pieces, but Dorian calms her down and tells her that everything is okay.
I love you, Dad.
Nina calms down, and Dorian is about to go get ice cream for their daughter. He steps outside, and Nina is engulfed by a deep sense of anxiety. She hears the sound of the siren again. And that's how the series ends. Share your thoughts on what you've seen. Just a reminder about our goal of 300,000 subscribers. Support us for our efforts. Also turn on the bell so you can watch new interesting movies together.